You ever wonder what the opening day lineup will be in 2028 as the A's are expected to be in Las Vegas? Let's have a little fun today and see what that may look like today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your host, Booney. One name, episodes will drop Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m. That is Oakland time, Vegas time, and yes, Sacramento time. Whether you are on your way to work, driving back from work, or listening casually during the day. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. I'm from the Bay Area, and I've been a diehard A's fan since 1981. And I'm here to bring you a real fan's take, covering everything from Oakland to Sacramento to Las Vegas. This is the place for A's fans to get the latest game breakdowns, team news, and more. This is where the passion of the fans take center stage. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. And please hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. I am pretty fired up about today's show. I didn't get a chance to review the A's series in July against the Anaheim Angels on Wednesday. I will do so today. These reviews are absolutely critical. Let me tell you what. When I went on my rant on Wednesday questioning if people reporting on the A's have actually watched the game, what these reviews do is take you through the actual game and gives you the actual information and knowledge of what a player did and what a player did not do, rather than simply reviewing high-level statistics and coming up with some sort of conclusion, which doesn't tell you the story like actually watching the game pitch for pitch. That's later. Winter meetings have wrapped up, and to be honest, if I wasn't aware they were going on, I wouldn't even know they happened. That's in about 10 minutes. As a baseball nerd, I just love forecasting lineups and pitching rotations and potential lineups, potential moves, etc. For me, it's a good time. And today, we're going to have a little fun as I am going to project the 2028 Las Vegas A's opening day lineup. Coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time! When we are talking about the 2028 opening day lineup for the A's, this is somewhat of a challenge, but let's have some fun with it. One thing the A's will be in 2028 is young, but very talented. The stock of kids they have drafted and or traded for are really, really good and believe they will make up a good part of our roster. While this is all wild speculation, like I said, let's have some fun with it, forecasting how the roster might shape up. Let's start with the outfield. Left fielder, Colby Thomas. He was drafted in 2022, third-round pick out of Mercer University. Showed exceptional raw power, 18 home runs and 39 doubles in 2023. He led all of minor league baseball in home runs last year. Compact swing, improved plate discipline, and has a little speed. Stole 25 bases. Solid defender with a strong arm, ideal for a corner outfield position. Center field, Denzel Clarke, 2021 fourth round pick out of Cal State Northridge. Exceptional athlete with power and speed. People have called him, on the baseball side of things, reminiscent of a Bo Jackson. I might be stretching, but hey, who knows? He certainly has the build. Strong arm and plus speed make him a natural fit in center field. He needs to refine his hitting mechanics and stay healthy. That's the most important. In right field, Lawrence Butler. I see Lawrence Butler being an MVP candidate for the next 3 years. And when he becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2030, I think the A's will sign him to a long-term deal. In 2030, he will be, I believe, 29 years old. I think Lawrence Butler is becoming one of the best players in baseball, and he will be the cornerstone of the A's franchise for years to come. Let's get to the infield. First base, no surprise here. 2024 first round pick, number 4 overall, out of Wake Forest University, Nick Kurtz, a complete hitter, elite power, plate discipline, and all fields hitting ability. He is the real deal. High level defensively. Comparisons that I have mentioned in the past that people have talked about him, scouts said they remind him of a Jim Thome, but better defensively. Second baseman, Max Muncy, 2021 first round pick, Thousand Oaks High School. Versatile infielder. He can play shortstop and third base. A lot of people had him coming up this year and playing third base. He fought a little bit of injuries last year, but I think considering where our infield will be in 2028 and his ability to play multiple positions in the infield, I think second base is going to be his spot. He has improved swing mechanics and power hitting in the minors, good arm, competitive spirit, and I think he'll be our anchor at second base. Shortstop, we know this guy, Jacob Wilson, 2023 first round pick, number 6 overall out of Grand Canyon University. Exceptional contact hitter. Career 4.4% strikeout rate in college, which is just ridiculous. He's steady defensively. He's getting better. Presence with high baseball IQ and above average arm strength. I mentioned on Wednesday the comparison to Derek Jeter. At the plate, he reminds me of Freddie Sanchez, former Pittsburgh Pirate, former San Francisco Giant. Potential to evolve offensively with added strength. Third base, here's one of my favorites. This guy's a beast. 2024 second round pick out of LSU. I think getting this guy in the second round was a steal. Tommy White. Massive right-handed power. Consistent hard contact and high RBI production. Best way to describe Tommy White is gritty. Average arm strength, but a signature at third base. Great leader, great clubhouse guy, championship pedigree that he brought to LSU, I believe will carry over with him. Great contact hitter. For being as powerful as he is and hitting the bombs he does, for him to constantly make contact says a lot. Catcher, Shea Langeliers. I see him being the best hitting catcher in the next couple of years, maybe next year. And for sure, in 2028, in a core to the middle of the lineup for the A's. At DH, someone who reminds me a lot of somebody who at DH, and he could also play catcher, he could also play first base, Tyler Soderstrom. Tyler Soderstrom reminds me a lot of Christian Yelich, from the Milwaukee Brewers. You got to remember how young Soderstrom is right now. I believe he's 22 years old. He still hasn't grown in to that man strength. And once he gets there, look out. He is the type of player who can put up those triple crown type numbers. Hit 330 with 35 home runs and 120 RBIs. He's that type of talent. He will be one of the best hitters in baseball in 2028. Let's talk about our pitching ace, Luis Morales, top international prospect of 2023. Electric fastball, goes from 94 to 99 with a deep 4-pitch arsenal. Dominant debut, 2.86 ERA across 4 levels of the minors. Needs to maintain his control and durability, but projected to be the ace of the A's staff. And of course, coming out of the bullpen to close games out, nothing changes here. Mason Miller. Let's talk about notable moves and predictions. Brent Rooker will be an unrestricted free agent in 2028. He'll be 33 years old. When the A's move to Las Vegas and do believe Rooker's best baseball is just ahead of him, and if the A's stay consistent with regard to who they have let go in free agency and who they have re-signed, I don't believe the A's will re-sign him in 2028 and can see Rooker signing a 5-year, $150 million deal with the Yankees or another big market team like we saw in the past with Jason Giambi. I see that happening. I can also see J.J. Bleday getting dealt in the offseason going into 2028, as that will be his final year of arbitration in some sort of sign and trade the A's may do, like they did with Matt Olson. Hopefully they'll get a little bit more in return. The A's have young talent who should be ready by the time the A's land in Vegas. Obviously, this is all wild speculation and anything can happen in the next 3 years. One thing is for sure, the A's have a lot of talent and, more importantly, a lot of young talent. Speaking of talent, winter meetings concluded on Wednesday, and teams trying to get talent is the name of the game at the winter meetings. Let's revisit what happened at the winter meetings up next. Today's episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. When I personally look at a sports book, there are 2 things that are most important to me. Is it easy to deposit? And more importantly, is it easy to withdraw? FanDuel checks both boxes for me. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Let's dive into the 2024 winter meetings. Not a lot to talk about as things were, for the most part, very quiet. The biggest highlight for the A's may have been their pursuit of Max Fried. Let's break it down. Max Fried, one of the top free agents, is off the board. The Yankees snagged him with an 8-year, $218 million deal. That's right, $218 million for one of the game's best left-handers. Let's rewind for context. Competing offers. The Blue Jays and Red Sox were also in the mix. The Red Sox came in significantly lower at $190 million over 7 years. Why the Yankees landed Fried? New York went above and beyond, topping David Price's iconic $217 million deal from 2015. Hopefully that deal works out better for the Yankees than the Price deal did. This signing reinforces their commitment to a rotation stacked with talent. But depth comes with decisions. More on that later. The A's unlikely push for Max Fried. Now here's the twist. Reports suggested that the A's were one of the most aggressive teams pursuing Fried. Yes, you heard that right. The same A's that have historically avoided big spending. Now, David Forst has denied this push, but the reports had us scratching our heads. After all, the A's broke their free agent record by signing Luis Severino for $67 million. We have a good idea of why the sudden spending has happened. It's due to the Major League Baseball Players Association pressure on the A's, and the A's need to hit a competitive balance tax threshold of $105 million to avoid grievances. We've all heard about this, right? Currently, their CBT or competitive balance tax sits at $78 million, leaving room and necessity for more moves. We know why they're spending. I mean, if they didn't have that pressure from the MLBPA, I question whether any of these moves would be made to begin with. That's for sure. Let's talk strategy going forward. Since the A's could not land Max Fried, who's next? Several names are still on the market, and we have talked about them on multiple occasions. Sean Manaea, a familiar face. Manaea remains unsigned. The A's reportedly made a strong offer here. It would make sense to revisit those discussions. Other names, I've talked about Nick Pivetta from the Red Sox before. Jeff Hoffman from the Phillies could also be targets. The A's rotation is a clear area of need, and spending there helps bolster the team while meeting the MLBPA's payroll expectations. Problem is draft picks, right? The A's willingness to sign players who rejected qualifying offers is also very notable. They have already forfeited one pick for Severino, and if they add someone like Manaea, they are ready to give up another. But free agents aren't the only route. The A's could explore trades. One intriguing option that we've talked about before, Marcus Stroman from the Yankees. The Yankees now have a surplus in their rotation after signing Max Fried. Stroman owed $18 million in 2025 with a player option in 2026. Could he be expendable? He'd bring veteran leadership to a young A's squad while helping them reach that payroll threshold. The question is, what do the Yankees want in return? All these moves paint an interesting picture for the A's. Historically, a team focused on development and low-cost options. They are now in uncharted territory, to say the least. But let's not sugarcoat it. Overpaying is likely their only path forward given their situation. Playing in a AAA park for the next few years doesn't help. The A's need to offer a premium contract to attract talent. And we're seeing that in deals like Severino. The A's willingness to open their wallet, even modestly, is a shift. Whether it's enough to reinvigorate a building franchise, remains to be seen. But it's a start, that's for sure. The winter meetings usually never fail to deliver drama, with the exception of this year. It was quiet. The Yankees had some bold moves in signing Fried. The Red Sox traded for Crochet. The A's had some newfound aggression. There is plenty to keep an eye out for. As the offseason unfolds, and new news comes in, we'll break it down all here. I have made a guarantee, and I stick by that guarantee, that the A's will win the AL West. And speaking of great baseball, up next, we revisit the month of July, where the A's faced off against the Anaheim Angels, and where the A's had the second best record in all of baseball. Let's revisit that series, see what worked, see what didn't, and see what they can take forward going into 2025. Up next. This episode is brought to you in part by Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets and more with Game Time picks. I went to the Niners-Rams game last night at Levi Stadium, and what I love about the Game Time experience is the all-in pricing, where it shows you the total up front of your ticket with no surprise fees at checkout. It's the only ticketing app that gives me complete peace of mind. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Game Time! The first series since the All-Star break is against the Anaheim Angels at the Coliseum from July 19th through the 21st. The A's faced the Angels in the first series of the month as they swept the Angels in a 3-game set. Coming into the series, the A's have a 7-5 record for the month of July. The key to making the playoffs and or winning your division is by taking care of business against the teams at the bottom of the division, like the Angels. So far for the month, the story for the A's has been the bats and the explosiveness the offense has been capable of. They have scored runs in the amounts of 19 in a game against the Orioles, 9 runs against the Red Sox, and 18 runs against the Phillies. A lot has been due to the tear Brett Rooker has been on and Lawrence Butler establishing himself as a legitimate threat in the lineup. Starting pitching has been an issue, and finding consistency has been a challenge. What has been a bright spot for the A's in the starting rotation has been left-hander J.P. Sears, who has established himself as the ace of the pitching staff, and who the A's are starting in Game 1 of the series against the Angels. This is Sears' third start for the month, as he has gone 10 2/3 of an inning, striking out 14, allowing 6 hits, and only 1 earned run. Top prospect and top draft pick from Grand Canyon University, Jacob Wilson, makes his major league debut at shortstop for the A's. Wilson has drawn comparisons as far as style to Derek Jeter. For me, defensively, he does remind me a little bit of Jeter, but offensively, he looks like a spitting image of former All-Star who played with the Pittsburgh Pirates and the San Francisco Giants, Freddie Sanchez. Sears struggled in his first 4 innings against the Angels, allowing 6 hits, but in J.P. Sears fashion, he battled, allowing only 2 runs through 4 innings. The A's were held hitless in the first 2 innings, and in the bottom of the third with the A's down 1-0, Jacob Wilson came to the plate for his first major league at bat. There is always something special about somebody's first major league at bat. On the second pitch he lined a single up the middle for a base hit. Max Schumann, that man, singled. And with runners on first and second, Lawrence Butler hit a triple down the right field line, plating both Wilson and Schumann. Now, as Wilson crossed home plate, he came up lame as he pulled his hamstring. He was pulled from the game and unfortunately went on the IL right after the game. A great start for Wilson. We will definitely see him again. But yeah, Wilson making his major league debut. He just got a hit in his very first at bat, scored his very first run, and pulls a hammy. Definitely a disappointment. With the score tied at 2 going into the bottom half of the fourth, Brett Harris, who replaced Wilson, singled, driving in Zach Geloff. And with 2 on, that man, Max Schumann, came up and hit a 3-run bomb in the left field stands, making the score 6-2. The bats didn't stop in the 6th, and yes, it was Schumann again, doubling, driving in Seth Brown. A key part of the A's success has been Schumann, not only his production as a hitter, but he is doing it in the 9 hole and turning over the lineup to the top of the order to blazing hot hitters like the Law Dog, Lawrence Butler. He singled. Miguel Andujar doubled, driving in Butler, and J.J. Bleday came up and hit a 2-run bomb. Rooker singled, and Langeliers came up and hit another 2-run bomb. Before you know it, it's 13-3 at the end of 6 innings, which ended up being the final score. A huge win to open up the series after the All-Star break. The A's have become so exciting to watch offensively as they can just explode at any time. That is 31 runs in their last 2 games, which is unheard of. Sears went 5 2/3 of an inning. He gave up 9 hits and 3 runs. Not his best outing. But what I love about JP Sears is that he competes with every single pitch. What has been surprising has been the bullpen. They lead the majors in innings pitched and are 4th in the league in ERA, which says a lot. Game 2 of the series saw Mitch Spence going for the A's. And in my opinion, Spence is the odd man out of the 2025 starting rotation. Don't get me wrong, I love Mitch Spence. There was a time earlier in the year when Miller established himself as the closer and Lucas Ursay was the 8th inning guy. For a very brief period of time, Mitch Spence was actually the 7th inning guy. And I believe it was Dallas Braden that actually nicknamed the 3 as the law firm of Spence, Ursay, and Miller, only as Dallas Braden can. Now, that didn't last very long. And due to a number of factors, Spence was forced into a starting role. Like he always does, he battles, but he just hasn't been consistent. This is his 4th start of the month, and so far he has allowed 11 earned runs in 16 innings. I think Spence's best spot is in the bullpen. The A's bats didn't miss a beat going into Game 2 of the series. With 1 out in the bottom of the 1st, with runners on 2nd and 3rd, Brett Rooker came up and hit an absolute shot, line drive over the left field wall to give the A's a quick 3-0 lead. The A's added 4 in the 4th, led by a bases loaded, 2 out, bases clearing double by the Law Dog, giving the A's a 7-1 lead. Final ended up being 8-2. And again, the bats stayed absolutely on fire. If you're keeping track at home, that's 39 runs in the last 3 games. Spence wasn't bad. He went 5 1/3 innings, allowing 5 hits, 2 runs, walked 3. Spence is a fighter, but he throws a lot of pitches and walks a lot as a starter. I just think the A's have better options for a starter and think Spence is much more of a better fit out of the bullpen as, let's say, a seventh inning guy. I see his role in 2025 being similar to the role Austin Adams had for the A's last year. Winning another series was great, as the A's guaranteed that, winning the first 2 games. But as I said earlier at the beginning of this, the key to winning the division and or getting a playoff berth is sweeping your bottom of the league teams. And considering how the A's have dominated the first 2 games of the series, sweeping this series was a must. Joey Estes on the bump for game 3 of the series, coming off a great outing against the Phillies just before the All-Star break. And he was equally as impressive in this outing, going 5 2/3 innings, which should have been 6, as he was robbed on a pitch that should have been called a third strike. He ended up giving 8 hits, 2 runs, walked 2, and hit a batter. Estes got out of jams, and he made great pitches when he needed to. The A's had doubles in the third by Butler, Bleday, and Rooker, scoring 2. A solo homer by Andujar in the 5th and 2 runs in the 7th gave the A's a 5-2 lead going into the 8th, facing the reliable Lucas Ursay and hopefully Mason Miller in the 9th. As I'm watching this one, I'm thinking this one's in the bag, and the A's are going to win 5 of their last 6. Reliving this is causing pain. Ursay allows a leadoff single to Logan O'Hoppe, who advances to second on a wild pitch. Zach Neto singles, and with runners on first and third, Ursay hits Brandon Drury and walks Joe Adell, which walks in a run, and making the score 5-3 with the bases loaded and 0 outs. They pull Ursay and bring in left-hander Scott Alexander to face left-handed hitter Nolan Shanwell. And Alexander has been so good for the A's coming out of the pen. He allows a single to Nolan, scoring Neto, making it a 1-1 game. Anthony Rendon grounds into a fielder's choice, which ties the game at 5, and Kevin Pillar comes up and clears the bases with a 1-out triple as the Angels scored 5 in the 8th, taking a 7-5 lead. The A's were shell-shocked, to say the least, and went down quietly in the 8th and the 9th as the Angels added 1 in the 9th and took the final game of the series 8-5. This was definitely a painful one to take. Very painful. I mean, ouch. They took 2 out of 3. But having a 3-run lead against the Angels with a bullpen like the A's, we have to bring this one home. 9-6 record for the month of July, going into a 3-game set against one of the hottest teams in all of baseball, an American League West leading Houston Astros at the Coliseum, which I will cover next week. Let's go through some numbers for the A's in the Angel series and so far for the month of July. How can you not start with Lawrence Butler, who was 7 for 11 against the Angels with a double, triple, 5 RBIs, and 3 walks. For the month, Lawrence Butler, 20 of 52 with 7 home runs, 22 RBIs, 13 runs scored. You talk about out of nowhere. Brett Rooker was only 4 of 12 in the series against the Angels with a home run, which is very good, but by Brett Rooker standards and what he has done for the A's so far this month, let's check out those numbers. 24 of 53 so far in the month of July. 7 homers, 20 RBIs. Unreal. JJ Bleday was in a 3 of 38 slump going into his last game of the series against the Phillies, and he's bounced back nicely against the Angels. And in game 3 of the series against the Phillies, he's gone 7 of 16 since. Miguel Andujar, who I still feel people are not talking enough about. He went 8 for 13 in the Angel series. I think Miguel Andujar will win the comeback player of the year next year if he stays healthy. I believe he is that talented. And how can I leave out Max Schumann? 4 for 8 in the series. Home run, 2 doubles, 5 RBIs, 6 runs scored. He walked 3 times. Let's check out his numbers for the month. Remember, this is coming out of the 9 hole in the batting order. 17 of 45, which is a batting average of 378. 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. He has scored 16 times out of the 9 hole. He has walked 10 times. He has played shortstop. He has played third base. Max Schumann is a straight up winner. And that's why I get fired up when speaking about Max Schumann. That's why I get fired up when he has not been given the credit he has so much earned. On the pitching end of things, Joey Estes, 4 starts, 4.84 ERA. Considering he got shelled in Boston, giving up 7 runs in 1 2/3 innings, it's not bad. JP Sears has been great with a 2.20 ERA over 3 starts. Mitch Spence, 6.20 ERA over 4 starts. Look for Michael Otanez to be huge for the A's out of the bullpen in 2025. He's pitched in some bad luck, which doesn't make his numbers look so attractive. But so far in July, he has pitched in 5 2/3 innings. He has struck out 12. His ERA is, like I said, his numbers don't look great. 6.35. Again, pitched in a lot of bad luck. I like Otanez a lot, and I think he has a legitimate chance to be the setup guy for Mason Miller. We will see. Big 3-game set against the Astros coming up, which I will cover next week. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday.